Couple minutes yet?
Welcome to the show, John Wilson in the studio, talking all things Jackson, bringing you the news that you need to know. The Heads on Jackson podcast, and we're coming at you live in your city, Jackson. This is your time. Get your news from your neighbor, the people who care, unbiased and uncensored with pride, broadcasting to you live on the air. Trusted source to tell you what's happening from the city to the county line. All the news that matters. Make your own opinion about the news that affects your life. It's Home Jackson Podcast, and we're coming at you live in your city, Jackson. This is your time. Get your news from your neighbor, the people who care, unbiased and uncensored with pride. Coming at you broadcasting live on the
Hey, yeah, you were good. Why is that not working now? Check. There we go. Yeah, we're on. We're live. Hi, guys. Welcome. His Home Jackson Podcast. Here with John, as always. I'll let him introduce our guest, and we'll get moving.
Well, thank you, Kevin, again, and welcome to another episode of It's Home Jackson with John Wilson, your trusted source from the city to the county line. I'm your host, John Wilson, where it is always my objective to keep the responsible, law-abiding, hardworking, and retired citizens of all of Jackson County better informed on the decisions that are being made from the Jackson City Council and our Jackson County Commission. Today, we have a special guest, and our special guest is John Leicht. John Leicht is a retired Jackson City firefighter that, in my opinion, has more knowledge on city government than the city council and the mayor combined. John is a frequent public commenter during many city council meetings, always being respectful, always concise, and always to the point, whether the city council, mayor, or city officials like it or not. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Johnny. That was a pretty nice intro. I do like to pay attention.
Yes, you certainly pay attention. And the citizens of Jackson, those who pay attention at least to what's going on with our city government, really appreciate it. I know I've watched and listened to you through the years at city council meetings and speaking with you outside of City Hall, and you're a wealth of knowledge. And again, it's appreciated. And you are always, again, whether it's in front of the city council, you're always respectful. And it's not so much always having to be respectful to the office holder, but to the office itself.
Yeah, again, thank you. And I really wish there were a lot more people that attended council meetings. There is a terrible voter apathy in this town, as we can see by percentage of people that show up to vote. So we really do need people paying a little more attention. Just an example of that is the Mr. Dancy and Miss Gunn, couple council members, recently had that water rate increase. They had a little informational meeting at the Booze Center, and I attended that meeting, as I attend a lot of them. There was more staff at that meeting than there were people. There were 7 people there, so I don't know if my rates or if there was a big issue on the table, I would probably pay a little attention. So that's just the type of, apathy that we see in this town a long time. So
Well,
hopefully shows like this will pick that up a little.
that's what we strive for. And apathy, you're absolutely correct, because the voter turnout for city elections is dismal, absolutely dismal. And whether it's in the single digits or in the low double digits, it's unacceptable. And that's only registered voters. Imagine what it would be with if they counted those numbers for eligible voters. It would even be much, much worse. So again, that's why we're here today. That's why we go in front of that city council. That's why some of us run for office, is to hopefully inject a little more, let's just say, uh, to get the voters, the citizens, better informed on what's taking place out of Jackson City Hall.
Hold accountability.
Absolutely.
And
Accountability.
Nice, correct, factual information, which I listened to one of your podcasts, and I think it was Kevin. You said, hey, anybody listening to this show and thinks we are misinformed on something, please straighten us out.
Yeah, we're always very clear on that. And
Mhm.
yeah, because a lot of times, our sources aren't always right. So
And today's, our sources for the most part are right from the horse's mouth itself, and that's those elected officials who sit on city council, the mayor, or any of those city officials that speak, or what we may read with an agenda. That's how you stay informed, because we can't take so much for granted anymore, being informed by local media. And that's unfortunate. But you know what? And I give kudos to WKHM. They've stepped up their game. They now report after a city council meeting or county commission meeting at the top of the hour news, their top of the hour news. They start off, or it's maybe a couple stories in, but they are now mentioning what took place at the council meeting or county commission meeting the night before. So kudos to WKHM for stepping up with that. And I don't want to take any credit for it, but you know what? I think it's because we, right here on Hits Home Jackson, when we started this podcast, I hammered that home. We just don't have the local media anymore to keep the citizenry informed. And even M Live is reporting more on council meetings and county commission meetings. So they've stepped up their game, but maybe it's because we're sitting right here today that they did so.
Well, and you're talking about KHM. I wouldn't say it was a regular, but after meetings on Wednesday, I used to call into the WKHM Talkback Jackson, and I wouldn't give them opinions on what happened at the meeting right there, but I would go ahead and tell them what the facts were on 4 or 5 different issues there. And just by some of the callers would call in after I spoke, they said, this guy sounds like he doesn't really have an agenda. He's just giving some facts, and I think people appreciated that.
Yes, they do. Speaking of facts, speaking of issues, John, what do you think are some of the issues that we're looking at today moving forward? I mean, we could go on for 7 days, 24 hours here at this podcast talking about the issues, but what do you think right now are the top issues?
Well, before I get into that, I've been listening to a couple of the shows right there, and you guys had a pretty interesting show on the streets and where we're at with assessments and that. And one of the new things that has popped up, we all know that I believe it was Mr. Forgrave and Ms. Schlechte many years ago decided to give citizens some sort of avenue to protest their property assessments. So that went through council, and that's when the rule came up. Council said, look, if somebody doesn't want their street done, you go ahead and bring a petition to council, do it an official way, and we'll go ahead and vote on whether we want to honor that petition or not. They also voted to make it a supermajority.
Supermajority on the petition.
On the petition.
Supermajority of the homeowners who live on that particular street that the city was looking at either doing a total street reconstruction or a mill and pave.
Well, if the homeowners brought the petition forth, the only way that petition would not be honored if council voted with a supermajority not to honor the
supermajority of the council vote.
Okay,
I'm speaking of it had to be 51% of the homeowners on that particular street that signed that petition that were opposed to the street assessments that they were given by City Hall, that was going to charge them thousands and thousands of dollars to have their street reconstructed or mill and paved.
Yeah. So they would simply take the petition up there, and as I've been following that, I can't think of one street that they were petitioned not to do it, and council overturned that. But on the Lansing Avenue, now you guys mentioned a bunch of the streets. Obviously, know with the downtown dig.
And when you say when we were on the podcast, that was when Will Hastings was a guest on the podcast, I believe. Or maybe way back.
I think it was episode 2.
Okay,
Episode 2. So either that, I think we talked about it with Corey as well.
Okay. Not so much.
A little bit, maybe.
But with Will, but like you say, going back to one of the first episodes. Yeah. Okay.
So it was pretty much business as usual. People would bring the petition, and council would honor the petition. And that was they did that for MLK. They also did that for Pearl Street, because both them particular streets petitioned, and council said, okay, we're going to honor that petition, but the streets actually got done. Okay, Pearl Street just recently and MLK got done, and the city covered that. Now the majority of the streets have been that people brought the petition, they don't get done.
These local neighborhood streets.
They don't get done. And it's kind of interesting because on the Lansing Avenue project right there, which was the most recent one that got turned down, is council said, okay, we're going to honor that petition, and that street's not getting done. So, the Pearl Street is the latest example. I was at the meeting right there, the Pearl Street property owners. I want to say there was about 44 of them. It was the majority. They said, we don't want the street done, but evidently that's got some infrastructure for the hospital and some of the east side building. The city said, we'll cover that.
Yes.
So, things have changed a little there. And after the Lansing Avenue was turned down, Jonathan Green, the manager, mentioned, say, hey, maybe we should back this off of the supermajority to turn down the petition to the regular. So it's back that way. But if I was on council, that'd be political suicide, wouldn't it? If the majority of the people bring you a petition and say, hey, we'd really like you to honor this thing, and you didn't. So the streets are a problem in Jackson. They have been for a long, long time. I don't know if you guys remember, there's been many plans. I think the millage is probably going to pop up soon. But do you remember the Dobie's Sullivan plan?
And Councilwoman Colleen Sullivan.
Right. That they went on that barnstorming tour that once again was going to make our streets great, and
with a very, very large millage,
very, very large price, and needless to say, that went over like a lead balloon. So you guys covered the streets pretty good right there, and I just thought that was a couple of other things that I might be able to get in there to get a little more information to the people on that. I don't know what the plan to get the streets done in Jackson are, but the current way that we're under, I don't see a street being done, unless the city pays for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even if a millage were to go to a vote of the people, I don't like that at all, because just less than half, if not even maybe now half or over half of city residents don't even own their home. So it's the homeowners who are hit with, let's just say, if a millage were to be placed on the ballot and passed, it's those homeowners who will pay. Now, it's always said, well, those who are renting will, eventually see rent increases. But that's it's not always the case, because the landlord then, okay, we raise your rent to cover the cost of this assessment to have your street fixed, and then the landlords, they're the bad landlords for raising the rents. So with City Hall, if they were to place, and they're going to, it's going to come up for a vote after this November election, because Mayor Mahoney did say on WKHM with Mark Daly a few weeks back that it's being discussed, not so much at the meetings, but in the background, it's being discussed amongst city officials, elected officials right now to place a millage on the ballot, but they don't want to place it on the ballot, or at least they don't want to discuss it at a council meeting and even possibly vote on a millage during this election, because those who are running for election are not going to place that on the ballot. They will wait until after the November election, and who's ever sitting on that city council, I would expect it to pass, whether it's the same city council or a few new faces. I expect it to pass unanimously after the election. And then they'll use the same old excuse that a city council member, mayor, or a county commissioner uses each time a millage is placed on a ballot. Well, we'll just let the voters decide.
Yeah.
No, that's a sorry excuse.
And actually, I do believe there is. We had a couple scenarios right there, and what just came to mind, because I had a buddy that lives on Elm Street, and he got an assessment, and he knew I kind of follow this stuff, and he says, "Hey, this they recently did Elm from the highway out, and there was they lucked out because seeing that was part of the roundabout project, they got some repaving and that, so them residents actually probably got a little cheaper assessments." But he asked me, and I explained that petition situation to him, and he said, "Well, maybe, but I don't know whether them people wanted their street done and didn't mind paying, or I don't know if they just did not know the petition procedure. But that street was done on taxpayers' dimes, which is, so there's sometimes that's the system is working.
That's a major street. So you're going to get federal money, and they got federal money for it, just like they get the federal money for the roundabouts. That's why they put these roundabouts in, because they get big federal dollars. That's why they now have what they call road diets, where they narrow the streets. It's called road diets. Nice little term, right? Okay. And if you narrow the street like they're going to do with MLK Junior Drive, that's going to be a narrow. I mean, that's going down to 2 lanes, slow the traffic. And they will have a 10-foot wide bike path. And that bike path brings in huge federal dollars.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But that doesn't happen on local streets. Local streets are all paid for the most part, by the homeowners on the streets.
You view those assessments, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be another new option for streets being done in Jackson, because I was at last week's council meeting right there, and Mr. Forgrave had mentioned it was either Bloomfield Boulevard or Beverly Park Place, but them people evidently are going to bring a petition to the city saying, we want our street done and we want to be assessed. So that's the first one I've heard of that. And I just heard some talk about that. That's about the only factual information that I know. Is I believe that some residents of a street in Jackson are going to bring something to city council and say, hey, can you, Mr. Forgrave had mentioned, if
that's Councilman Forgrave.
Yes. If that's the case right there, if some residents want to pay, get their street done and do an assessment, we'll put them to the top of the list.
Yeah. Might as well.
And it doesn't happen too often where a homeowner on a street,
they want to pay, excuse me, can I pay more taxes?
Volunteers to pay thousands and thousands of dollars more in street taxes to have their streets fixed, that the city is responsible for allowing it to be in the condition it is.
Yeah. So I think in the near future, we might be seeing them prepare an assessment roll for them residents. Now, I have no idea. The residents say, well, let's go ahead and call for an assessment roll right there. And if prices are so outrageous that
maybe when they get the assessment roll done and they see what they're going to be paying. But have you been down Beverly Park?
I was trying to think where exactly that is.
It's off of between Southwest Avenue and 4th Street.
Oh, okay.
First Street south of Kibbe.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm familiar. Now, yeah.
And I believe both.
It's bad. There's no 4th Street entrance.
No.
It dead ends at 4th Street.
Right. And I, again, like I said, as a fireman in this town for 25 years, I used to know every street. But I believe Bloomfield is also closed off at 4th Street. But
and that's in as bad a shape almost as Beverly Park.
Yeah. Beverly has always been a dead end. Bloomfield was designated a dead end on the last, I guess it was on the 4th Street.
I just find it hard to believe that a majority of homeowners on any street, regardless whether it's on the east side, west side, north side, south side, and if you're talking Beverly Park, Bloomfield, homeowners there are probably a higher per capita income than you're going to find
That's what I was gonna
pretty
say.
much in anywhere else in the city. But if they want to have their assessments raised thousands and thousands of dollars to have that street fixed, well, go for it. But it's unfortunate that that street's in the condition it is. And look at that present city council and past city councils, past mayors, past city managers, and it's their fault that your street is in the condition it is.
The neglect, yeah, years and years and years of neglect.
Yeah.
So that may be a new option. And like I said, this is all in the preliminary stage. Maybe this was just one person that approached Mr. Forgrave or council and said, "Hey, we want to bring a petition to assess." And maybe, I don't know if they've talked to the neighbors or not. It could be one person. I don't know if it's a majority. So that's just something new that I heard. So we'll see how that story develops.
And Councilman Will Forgrave always does well in that part of the his ward for votes. Imagine that.
What I wonder too is that how many people out there know that they can petition to have their road done as well. This may be one informed citizen.
Right.
I didn't know until we started talking about it here.
Yeah.
I don't own a home, but most people I think wouldn't know. They just, I have a crappy road. We'll wait till they figure it out. So I wonder if there was more information, I guess more education regarding it, that maybe that would happen more often. But still, hey, city council, can you charge me a couple extra $1,000 real quick? Yeah.
There must be a pretty good word out of there, because I'm saying since that ordinance was adopted or whatever, that the petitions work, I want to say there's been like maybe 10 to 12 streets come before council, and a lot of them are just 1 or 2 block areas. But the Elm Street one is the only one that I'm aware of in the recent past that did not come and petition. Virtually every other street has come forth with council for a petition.
That's how it is now, and that way the council can, if they receive that 51% of homeowner signatures on a petition saying they do not want their street done due to they want their streets done, believe it, but they just don't want to pay the thousands of dollars in extra property taxes to have it done. And I don't blame them one bit. They shouldn't have to. But with this now policy, with this petition policy, the city council can just wash their hands and say, well, the majority of homeowners, that 51% of homeowners on that particular street did not want their street done. So, drive on that street in the condition it is, and it's your fault because you didn't want to raise your own taxes thousands and thousands of dollars. All right, Big John. So
one more thing on them streets. A particular interest of me right here is because we do have a lot of housing going on. We got the 100 home projects going. We have a lot of private developers that building, and it amazes me because we all know where. I heard you guys talk about it. We all know where the bad streets are. We avoid them and that. And
I've lived on most of them.
Yeah, just through our daily habits we go through. And I noticed one particular, I don't know whether it's a 100 home or it's a private developer, but they just recently built a house on Monroe Street between Wisner or maybe Lansing and Cooper, somewhere through there.
Yeah.
And I travel that route almost daily. And for the longest time, there was a hole that was about the size of a pickup bed.
I know exactly where you're
right
talking
inside
about,
of this, right in front of this new house. And so I don't know what the people that picked that lot, if that hole was there originally. And as I drive around the east side where a lot of development's going on, and most of that development over there are Alan Hadwin, I believe, is building some houses, and they have a private
the health district.
Yeah, the health district, and
off of East Michigan Avenue.
I've been down on, I think it's like Ten Eyck and Homewild and that, and I mean there are like 10, 12 beautiful looking duplexes, single family houses and as I'm driving down the house, I'm looking at the house, and I'm trying to avoid the potholes as I go there. So I suspect that maybe some of these developers over here on the east side might have a little something extra thrown their way, seeing that they showed a commitment to build in the city. So maybe there's some plans to start doing some of them streets in that area.
No. I mean, that could be, yes. I wouldn't be surprised. But some of these homes are going to be leased out. They're rented. They're not all for sale by the developer. And part of the whole deal to get these developers to build these homes is TIFs, tax increment financing, which means they don't pay property taxes for the most part. And by not paying property taxes, let's just say, okay, one of these homes, and there's a few of them already built that are going to be leased out, duplexes, okay, or single family homes that are brand new homes that will be leased out. So the developer owns that home, is not paying property taxes, so therefore can charge less in rent because he doesn't have to cover the cost of those property taxes. That is not fair, especially to those other landlords who are hit with these assessments and has to, for the most part, eat those assessments. But what I'm saying here also is the fact that without those homes, these houses that are going to be leased out, not having to pay property taxes, the landlords, that means that's less revenue coming into the city to have those streets fixed and to fund a fire department, a police department,
Right.
because they're not paying the property taxes that the rest of us have to pay. That was just one of the inducements to get these. Now we're down to one developer, maybe two developers that are building these 100 homes.
Well, they're down to one developer because that's
Right.
another thing that prices went up, which we all know, and when they started the 100 homes project. So the builder, they had two builders, I believe, that had a couple different models, and I don't know how many has built, whether it's been 50-50 so far, but they had two, and prices were going up, and I guess it was about I heard a $10,000 to $15,000 increase on top of the $175 that they were going to pay. And I just heard that in the chambers, council chambers last evening. And the developer, who I believe was North, it slips me right now. One of the two developers said, look, we'll keep this price down to $3,000 if you give us, there's 50 homes there's about 25 complete, 50 ready to go. And they said, if you give us, guarantee that we are going to build them next 50 homes, we're going to go ahead and hold this price increase down a little bit, which I think the price only went up $3,000. I don't know what they were proposing before that deal, but now there is one builder that is going to handle the rest of the 100 home projects.
How many of these 100 homes would have been built, would have even been occupied by now? And I think it's just a small percent that are actually occupied, that have been sold. How many of these homes would have been, number one, built without taxpayers funding their down payment up to $50,000, 25 from the city, from City Hall, $25,000 that we're giving to these prospective home buyers for their down payment, along with up to 25 from the state. That's $50,000 down payment that they can put on a brand new $172,000, $175,000, $200,000 home. And like Mayor Mahoney said to Bart Hawley when these 100 homes projects just began, that homeowner is going to have $50,000 of equity on day one as soon as they move into that home.
Right.
That's an excellent incentive. And if your original question is how many of them homes would have been built
without that $50,000 down taxpayer funded down payment?
Looking at
zero.
The past history, probably zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah. Very few.
City Hall, I mean, the 100 homes are being, celebrated as the best thing since sliced bread. It's not.
There's a lot of holes in the
lot of holes. And again, are we ever going to see 100 homes totally built? Now with the one and only contractor now saying, hey, if you can guarantee that we're going to build these 100 homes, City Hall, number one, should not even be in the real estate business. And number two, should not be guaranteeing, we'll build these homes, and how many will sit empty for how long, and then eventually just be leased out as rentals.
And just be potentially and probably used by homeless and vagrants until then. And now when you have somebody interested in buying it, now you got to go back in and fix the floors and the windows and the doors.
Right. I'm a landlord, okay?
Right.
I have one home in the city left that I leased out for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I've had this home this rental for 20 years, single family home. My long-term tenants who were there 12 years just moved out back in early June.
Ooh.
I decided to, rather than put it up for rent again, I decided to throw some money into it and update it and put it on the market for sale.
Right.
Myself, I'm competing with these 100 homes.
Yeah.
And I would like to say to a prospective home buyer through my real estate agent, hey, have them go down to City Hall and see if they are eligible for a $25,000 taxpayer-funded
They
down
should
payment.
be, right?
Yeah,
Or does it have to be part of the 100 homes?
I'm being facetious. No, they are not eligible.
That's what I was curious. Like
Yes.
and that's screwing over a lot of local real estate agents.
Well,
as well.
And those who are trying to maybe sell a home.
Yeah, both sides of it, definitely.
Right.
That's insane.
You know, but believe it or not, I mean, me and John we have talked about that before, and my take on the 100 homes project right there, seeing there was absolutely no development right here. I'm thinking, look at here, they've got $2.5 million. That was from the ARPA fund.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. American Rescue Plan Act funding.
Instead of putting this on a GVI program or any of the other, they probably would have blown that money on something else.
Oh, absolutely.
I went in front of that city council and I said, when they were discussing spending it, that $2.5 million, I said, how about you take that $2.5 million and lower the assessments on some of these street construction projects for the homeowners?
Because that makes sense.
You know, and that actually, if they actually did that, that would have been a good option too. But you know, I don't really. I think these 100 homes, the 2.5 they went. I think that was a good deal. I think they've got till the end of next year to get all 100 of them built. Whether that happens or not, because it's my understanding that they literally have thousands, 1,000 applications at any given time.
Well, and a few thousand empty lots that the city owns that they're putting these homes on.
Right.
So,
well, for the last few years, they've been going through and getting rid of, homes that were abandoned or whatever. And so there were a lot of empty lots.
And one thing, that I do agree with the 100 homes. Unfortunately, I do not agree with City Hall being at all involved with this program. But you utilize those empty lots for new homes and give that developer that land. I could care less if no, that developer isn't going to pay $5,000 for that empty lot. Give that developer that empty lot and let him go. But all the other taxpayer funded inducements that go along with it, I'm just not in favor of.
Well, the private developers that come in, you can, if you're a private developer, it doesn't matter whether you're small or you're big, you can probably buy any house in a lot in the city for like $500.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Right.
And then what you are going to get for free is what they call, you'll get a curb cut in that. Basically, it's about a $500 to $7,500 perk. They'll hook you up to copper lines. They'll redo your driveway. They redo your street.
Sewer water.
So,
curbside.
that's, they get that for free. And, so that's a pretty good inducement. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that the city of Jackson needs some more taxpayer money and some housing for some tax base.
All these incentives seem good enough, but on top of that, they're basically making it so they don't have to pay property taxes on top of it, right? So, like you said, give them the property and then have them pay the property taxes. That solves all the problems.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's a pretty good deal.
We all want new residents. We all want new homeowners or those who rent, as long as those property taxes are being paid on that parcel of land. For
the fire department, the police department, the schools, the this and that, the things that or the roads.
Or the roads.
Which is a huge issue statewide, but definitely here in Jackson.
Okay. All right, Big John. Hey, we got, we're into almost the beginning of October. Nights are getting colder out there.
It was chilly last night.
A few years ago, the mayor prioritized homeless shelters, a homeless shelter to house our homeless.
They did 2 packages.
Yes. Want to maybe talk about that a little bit, discuss that? What's going on with
the first package was with, both packages have been with Residents in Action. And the first package was, they were kind of behind the 8 ball and they had to house them. They were in a yank. So they paid Residents in Action to run a program where they house some people over to the hotel on 94 and Elm.
Yes.
And also
Travel Lodge.
Yes. Yeah. And also that hellhole that's behind the sushi place.
America's Best.
America's Best. Okay. And I actually had somebody, I was following that very closely and I was looking at the books, and when the final report came out,
well, first, City Council allocated to this new nonprofit. Well, they weren't even an official nonprofit
No,
at this time.
they did not
were
have-
just a group of ladies that came before the city council, and next thing you know, they're homeless experts. So the city council allocated,
I want to say it was about 400,000.
yeah, okay.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not all. That's not all they have into it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so they allocated
You know-
this first batch of funding, $400,000, unanimous vote by city council to house and feed.
I don't know if it was unanimous. I know Miss Hunt voted, former Fifth Ward councilwoman.
She was the no vote.
She was a no vote. I think she was no vote on maybe both packages, but
Okay.
at least once.
Okay, so maybe not unanimous, but certainly passed the council. So therefore, this group of ladies, who again were not even an official state of Michigan licensed nonprofit, is handed over this money
Ran
to.
that, right. And I was getting interested in that right there because I was at a council meeting one night and they were supposed to be housing these people and feeding them. And I the number escapes me on how many people they did, but I was struck by a lady that showed up at city council meeting one night when that was the topic of, and she spoke in citizen comment, and she said, "This is a joke over here." She says, "They're talking about feeding us. They drop some food off and it's a free for all.
Oh,
Hot dogs and peanut butter, and I thought peanut butter sandwiches, and I thought, and living out the north end of the county, I go by there quite a bit on the way to town. So it was like the night after she said that, we had that big ice storm.
Mm.
And that's when I started driving by that hotel, checking things out. And lo and behold, the very first time I went over there, we had this huge ice storm. They didn't have power for about 7 days.
Oh,
So all the people were huddled up in their little great room. The hotel had a generator going and this and that. So everybody was down there, and I pretty much had a free run of people to talk to.
right.
Okay. I was talking to maids and everything. And of course, they weren't painting that pretty of a picture. And when I saw the final report from Residents in Action, even they admitted, as Miss Carter, I heard her say right at council, hey, we're building the plane as we're flying it.
Oh,
And that program kind of ran like that. So I don't think the city learned their lesson right there. And then they continued into the homeless business. So they bought T.A. Wilson School for $150,000.
The city hall.
City Hall bought with the intent of turning it into a homeless shelter. Then I want to say they refurbed it, sprinklers, because you couldn't house people in it. And we're not talking about the whole school. We're talking about the annex building.
okay.
That's out back. And they had to enact an emergency ordinance in order to move people in there because city ordinance doesn't allow you to have a homeless shelter or any shelter that has plywood on the windows and a lot of other things.
And
So
at this time, we also had those tiny houses, right?
the pallet houses.
Pallet houses.
Another $150,000 there. And them pallet houses were set up. I was down there many, many times, and we had electrical infrastructure into them. And all told, with the two homeless packages they ran, one at the hotel, one at the T.A. Wilson Annex, the pallet houses, the refurb of the building, and several other things. They were over. The city now has over $1.5 million into the homeless. Now, luckily, RIA took that
Residents in Action.
Yes, Residents in Action took that monstrosity off the city's hands. When the city bought that from JPS, I'm pretty sure JPS should have sent them the best parting gift they could.
Well, that's like consumers unloading their headquarters in the Hayes Hotel onto the city.
So I don't know if Residents in Action, of course, they got the $500,000 Leo.
Yes, they received a grant from the state of Michigan. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but let's just call it a state of Michigan grant from the magical grant tree. So they received $500,000 just last late winter?
Yeah, year ago.
Yep.
Yeah, year ago. Or so. Maybe longer.
No. It was in 2025 they received
Okay.
it. So they received this grant, $500,000 from the state that would go to help refurbish T.A. Wilson?
Yes, for the purchase of that
So they
building
could house homeless?
So they could house homeless. Their golden plan was to refurb the actual school part of it, set up offices for all their core groups.
They've spawned off into three or
Yes.
four different other nonprofits.
Diane Washington has a nonprofit. Selena Taylor has a nonprofit. Maisha Jones has a nonprofit. Keisha Hamilton has it. They're all core members of Residents in Action. So they were wanting to get them all in one building now. So they used, evidently it took quite a while because they actually had a better offer right there. The interface, although Residents in Action paid $150,000 for the building, when the presentations were made, I was at the meeting right there, and Mr. Castle was up there with the interface shelter, and they had a plan. They only wanted to pay $75,000, okay, but they had a plan to turn that, had the money, had a plan,
the expertise.
They were going to add 40 beds. Okay.
Yeah.
They were going to add 40 beds in the T.A. Wilson building. And I believe they also had a program going with Mr. Eric Rice. I don't know if that name rings a bell, but he's got a work program where he gets homeless people and he gets some jobs, and, you know, they've got rules. He houses them, and they got rules that they need to take care of. And if they follow them rules, they move up and, you know, eventually become hardworking, self-sufficient. So they had a plan right there. And why they didn't take that plan, I don't know, because
the city council voted instead to keep Residents in Action, who at this time now has an official nonprofit status from the state of Michigan, after receiving I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars. But anyways, so the city council voted to continue on with Residents in Action. Of course, now they don't have much involvement with the T.A. Wilson School, but I would expect
they
shouldn't
have any at all unless they're going to fund something.
Yes, and I know I would bet my oldest brother's life on the fact that T.A. Wilson, the RIA, Residents in Action, will come before city council and ask for some funding to help run their homeless shelter that isn't even open at this time and hasn't been open since they received the $500,000.
And on a lighter note right there, the very people that the interface shelter was talking about housing and refurbing the building for, they're getting ready to break ground real soon on their new project. Was going to do exactly what they wanted to do at T.A. Wilson on Wesley, right behind their building there. I was at the kickoff party for that last winter, their 150th anniversary party, or it was their anniversary party, and it was up right up here in the
Commonwealth
360, the Great Commonwealth Center, and there were people up there pledging money. I mean, like the Glick Foundation was, I think they donated $1 million. Dawn Food was like $400,000. Big hitters,
big hitters for sure.
That's where,
and there's a reason why, because the shelter, the interface shelter, is a proven. I mean, they know how to house the homeless, and they're the experts in the homeless.
Yeah, absolutely they are, and they've done so much with that little space they have.
Yes,
and I think that the idea for the T.A. Wilson was a great idea. It was just managed incorrectly.
I would have to agree with that. And right now, as you were alluding to earlier, Residents in Action now has purchased and closed a building, and let's say they got $350,000 left. This is like a $3.5 million.
Yeah, that's not much
refurb. And so, as I was there, actually talked to one of my city buddies when they were disassembling the pallet house. The city staff did that, put them inside T.A. Wilson School back when they shut that down. I have no idea that the pallet houses went with it, so I have no idea. That's now RIA's property, so I don't know if they're going to re-erect them, if they're going to sell them. They certainly are free to do anything they want, but they still do have a lot of other issues right there, because unless the city adopts another emergency ordinance, I don't know how they're going to be able to house people in the annex building with, like you say, plywood on the windows and this and that, other than, I mean, that building has some problems. And a lot of people, the pallet shelters were actually erected because of the emergency ordinance, because all kind of people were screaming, these things don't meet city property code, and other business owners and that are being subject to it are saying,
Yeah.
I've got, so what gives? So what's going to happen to that building, John? I don't really know, but I guess all the city taxpayers ought to be glad that the city sold it.
Well, okay,
until they come back in front of the city council and ask for more money.
Color me skeptical, but that $150,000 sale price that the city sold T.A. Wilson to Residents in Action, did they really receive a $150,000 check, or did City Manager Jonathan Green just say, use that $150,000 for whatever else? We wash our hands. We're done with the T.A. Wilson School. See you later. Bye. Yeah. They'll be back though. So kiss that $500,000 bye. Also,
I can't speak to that because I don't know.
All right. You know what, John? Yeah. Again, you're I went and started off our podcast with mentioning how you're a regular, for the most part, public commenter at city council meetings.
Frequent flyer.
Well, yep, you've been referred to as a frequent flyer. I've been referred to as the peanut gallery, but not you.
I've heard pain in the ass, but peanut gallery works.
Gadfly.
Pain in the ass, coward, peanut gallery.
It's all
frequent flyer. I've been called all that.
So anyways, the last time you were there in front of city council, you were very respectful and, again, on point. But yet you talked about the character of an elected official and how important character means, and that these elected officials, city council, mayor, they are the faces of the city. And when, like you mentioned, when not all the rules are being followed by an elected official, what does that say for the rest of us? What those rules that we have to follow,
whether it's, I say, not as I do situation,
whether it's on a daily basis regarding an ordinance, a regulation, or a city election law.
I've been used to that on a national and state level for a long, long time. And being somebody that regularly attends the meetings up here, the Jackson government is now a lot like Washington, and I don't really think that's a good thing. And that you do mention that. I probably have been to more city council meetings. I don't always speak at all of them, but I do speak at a lot of them. I've been to more city council meetings than the total council and the mayor combined.
Yes.
I'm talking like 30 years. I was just thinking of that the other day. I have been through so many mayors, and maybe you guys can help me out with this, but I might be missing a few. But I go back to Dick Durlam, Betty Granger, Karen Dunnigan, Jerry Ludwig, Bill Jors,
Jason Smith,
Derek Dobies, Mr. Mahoney. Can you think of any mayors before Mr. Durlam?
Absolutely not.
About candidates.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
So I've been up there a long, long time. I read the packets. I pay attention. I've been personal friends with many, many council people. And, quite frankly, the way I get treated up there and some of the other people that get treated isn't really right. And, let's keep in mind here that them chambers have gotten really toxic lately. And that's just a way of the world right there. So I don't know why council doesn't understand that people can come to that podium and they can say whatever they want as long as they are in line that keeps them out of jail or keeps them from getting sued. So the quicker they get used to that.
And that's been a problem in a lot of major cities. I have friends down in Texas. They were having the same issues with their city councils, and they would literally come in thwarts and speak in front of city council meetings because literally they would look at them like, how dare you question us? And it's like, well, that's because you work for us. Like, how dare you question us about questioning you? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a problem on the political scale across the nation, but I'm sure it's hitting Jackson just as hard.
And I heard again in council person comment at the end of the meeting last week because last meetings was pretty rough. Mm-hmm. Okay, we had a speaker up there that was speaking, and Mr. Mahoney, who's this is a regular speaker that evidently irritates the mayor. And halfway through his 3 minutes, Mr. Mahoney snaps back and asks, "What does that got to do with me being mayor?" And him and the gentleman that were speaking, they stared at each other about 20 seconds. And Mr. Mahoney said, "Thank you." And that gentleman kept right on talking. Okay, well, when his 3 minutes were up, the buzzer went off, and the mayor told him his time's up. He needed to go sit down. And this person
cut the mic off.
And this person objected.
Yeah, you should have had some time awarded back to him for the interruption.
So they went at it for about 30 seconds, 15, 20, 30 seconds. And a lady sitting in the front row at this meeting in a public forum, I thought it was somebody that the speaker knew. Okay. She got up. She touched the gentleman that was speaking on the shoulder, told him he needed to go sit down.
Oh.
And of course, we didn't have any violence, which was a good thing.
Yeah, that's right.
But they continued on, and the mayor was calling order and this and that, and it wasn't really doing any good. But the reason that particular kerfuffle
got out of order was because of
the mayor not following his rules. We got 3 minutes to speak there. They all have unlimited time at the end of the meeting. So that's where things got off to a bad thing.
And again, during city council public comment, where the citizenry gets up and speaks, the city council, mayor, any one of the city officials, they are not allowed to respond, and that's a good rule, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't. It's the public commenters' time only, and they shouldn't expect to have an answer at that time from the city council members or the mayor or the city manager, city attorney, whoever it may be. But again, he was interrupted. This public commenter was interrupted.
This gentleman speaks at every meeting. If you want to talk about a frequent flyer, as I said, he's probably sees as many meetings as I do. He certainly speaks at every meeting, which I said earlier I don't. He speaks at every single meeting. At the end of his 3 minutes, he says, "Thank you, Mr. Mayor," regardless of who it is, and he goes and sits down. So, if the mayor would have held his tongue right there, we wouldn't have had that problem. But at the minimum, and I play golf on Wednesday morning, so I don't have a chance to listen to his mayoral address. But people tell me things, and
his WKHM weekly interview with Mark Daly.
Yeah,
and he's on each week at 7:30. The mayor is, and I listened to the interview the day after last week's meeting, and of course, well, you listen to it eventually through the recording.
No, I never really did, but some people have told me, and I understand he apologized.
Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he also said that he has never had to throw anybody out of the meetings right there. And I get why he does not want to do that. I mean, I realize that.
Would create
in all my years, I've never seen anybody thrown out of the meeting, but I have had, there has been an occasion right there when Mr. Dowies was mayor and he was having trouble with one of the frequent flyers, somebody totally different than this gentleman the other night. And she kept interrupting. And the police chief who sits in the meetings mentioned, he says, I won't mention her name, but he says, Miss So-and-so, he got up and was over by the doors of the chamber. And he says, you need to come over here. We need to talk. And this lady continued on. And then the police chief says, Miss So-and-so, I would highly recommend that you come over here and I need to speak to you. Okay. So I'm assuming that they went out and they talked, and he probably said, hey, maybe you're not having a good day. Maybe you ought to get on out of here, because she was disruptive. This was absolutely, positively a situation where, at the minimum, either the mayor or the police chief should have took control here, because actually unwanted touching is, I'm not looking for somebody to be cuffed and stuffed.
That's technically battery if you want to get extreme with it.
But technically,
if you continue on and be disruptive,
the mayor probably should have asked the police chief, Mr. Simpson, could you please escort her out? And maybe on the way out, the police chief could have simply explained to her, this isn't good contact. So I don't think that anybody in the city of Jackson would have had a problem with the mayor throwing that lady out.
No. Right. What are the repercussions for, from both sides, as a council member, the mayor or something, doing that, or somebody going over their time or being disruptive, they'd be escorted out, right? But
they get plenty of warnings to sit down, they cut the mic off if you go over your time.
Right.
Whether you're up there, speaking on an issue that the council agrees with, it doesn't matter. 3 minutes is 3 minutes.
And like you said, you're not supposed to interrupt. That's your 3 minutes.
That's your 3 minutes.
Yeah. We've all seen those senators and House members and stuff in Washington D.C. going, they'll get interrupted. And they're like, all right, well, I'm petitioning for another minute because of this blah 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 spoke on a turn.
Them are incredibly monotonous too, aren't they?
Yeah.
But to answer that, no, there are no repercussions other than the mayor will shut off the mic, or you may or may not be removed. And it's funny you should say that, because talk about repercussions are on. Before Mr. Mahoney was mayor, one of his last meetings, before he was on the other side of the speaking podium,
he was a county commissioner.
He was a county commissioner at that time. And like I said, I go to a lot of these council meetings right here, and it was a full crowd that night. I wished I had the date. Somebody can look it up. It's the council meeting when they were talking about the renaming of MLK Drive.
Francis Street to MLK Drive.
Okay. So they had a large audience. There were over 20 speakers that night. Most of them, the place was packed.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them, half of them spoke on MLK issues, and there was also some landlord issues on the table, some inspection issues and that. And Mr. Dobies was the mayor, and of course Mr. Mahoney spoke last. But when there was a speaker up there, the head of the Jackson Landlords Association, he went up and he was speaking, and he didn't really know what the rules were, or wasn't listening, and he didn't have prepared, and his 3 minutes ran out quickly before he even could get a point across, and he was asked to go sit down. He was told that his time was up, and the gentleman said, well, I've got some more things I want to talk about. And Mr. Dovey said, sorry, you got to get 3 minutes. Well, Mr. Mahoney spoke last that night, okay?
In public comment.
Yes, and he said, I am not here representing
the county commission.
He said, I'm probably going to go over my 3 minutes because what I've got to say is important. He went for 7 minutes and 45 seconds.
Was allowed to speak the whole time without any.
No parliamentarian. Everybody sat on their hands. Well, that's the type of thing that, I'm not a troublemaker, but I like accountability. So his very first meeting, I went up there and I called him out on that. I said, come on, sir.
No, absolutely.
What gives? I said, you're going to have a hard time up here. And I got to tell you, his very first meeting was pretty rough. from the citizen comment side.
I imagine.
It was pretty rough. Yes, and I simply explained to him, sir, you need to figure something out, because when people come up and do that now, you've got a problem. Yeah. And lo and behold,
he set the precedence.
That's why we see the shot clock, as I call it.
Yeah.
He put a timer up there. So now, and that's a good thing, because now everybody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody has to guess who's getting time or not. You can see your 3 minutes. And I did see that shot clock, as I call it. I very first saw that over when they had to move the meetings over to the Michigan Theater for the NDO.
Yep.
Okay. Them meetings went till 1 o'clock in the morning. And that was actually Mayor George right there. And that's the first I saw it. And they were up on the stage at the Michigan Theater.
Yep.
And the clock, Randy Rozak was operating the clock, former athlete, former referee, baby. Okay. And when it was up, the buzzer would go off. And everybody in the room, if somebody would try to take extra time, the audience would.
Oh, yeah, because they wanted to get out of there. Let's get through everybody.
They would boo them out of there.
Yeah.
So, it's these type of accountability things that that's why I go up there. I don't.
You have the rules, follow them.
I don't speak on national
issues.
The
public or whether it's those who write those rules.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that there's regulations and rules about staying on topic. Like you said, you just speak about national issues. Why would you in front of a city council? Pertinent to the meeting, things like that, or things to be brought up to another meeting. And you can't just wander off and say whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But I mean, well, kind of you can, apparently.
And
if you're a county commissioner and you just say that you're not there representing the county commission, you can
that's a good thing.
Yeah, and the clock, the county at the county commission meetings and in their chambers, they have a clock, and it's the same 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But one thing about the county commission is the Jackson County Commission board meetings. They have a public comment at the beginning of the meeting, and then they have one at the end of the meeting, and that public comment only goes for 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
So they allow 2 public comment sections. Speaking of county commission, wow, we didn't get to touch on any county issues today.
No.
You know what? That's fine.
There's a lot of city stuff going on.
There's plenty to speak on with the county in another couple of weeks. But you know what?
Perfect.
not only do I have my special guest, Mr. John Leicht, here today, we have an audience of one for the first time
Yeah.
for this Hits Home Jackson with John Wilson
First
podcast.
audience we've had for any show in the studio.
Really?
Yep.
And it's an audience of one. And speaking of county commission, it's a former county commissioner.
What do you know?
Gosh, boy, could I get into some county issues back when you served on that county commission. And this former county commissioner is my big, much older brother, Greg Wilson. Come over here and get. Oh, there we go. There's Greg.
Oh, you better hit that. You better hit that awesome button, John. There we go. Awesome, baby.
Hello, Hazard County.
Okay, straight from Maricopa County in Arizona.
Yep, straight. Just flew in last night from Phoenix, Arizona.
Former business owner on Wisner Street.
Former city business owner.
Just one of my favorite nights at city council as a spectator is when John Trolls got into that big fight, and they were
At city council?
Yeah, rolling around on the ground.
Oh, who was that? Then
He
who?
was a taxi.
Yeah, he was the taxi. Yeah, the Trolls taxi. Now,
and I can't remember. I think it was Marty was the mayor.
Marty Griffin.
And Marty kept prodding him, and Trolls came right up there and started swinging at the mayor.
Oh, he did?
Oh yeah. And then we thought he was going to have a heart attack.
Right. So
Nice
then,
guy.
yeah, then they had to remove him forcibly.
More like dragging him out.
Politely ask him to leave. I've had those before.
Okay. Well, thank you for your input, Greg. Too bad we can't speak on some county issues. God, I could bring up that. Oh, Greg served on the county commission when they spent all those millions of dollars on the Armory Arts Village.
Yeah.
I was against that before I was 40.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
They promised me a velvet Elvis if I voted.
Yeah.
For it.
Yeah, we've got some new employees in the county coming up.
Yeah, we're going to cut this off right now because what John has just spoke on. The county commission at their full board meeting Tuesday night decided to spend $336,000 hiring 3 administrative positions, new administrative positions for the county.
So it's at $112,000 a year.
Yeah, don't forget, just last year, how much did they have to cut from the sheriff's department?
No, that's true.
Over $600,000 from the sheriff's department.
Oh,
But now they magically have found the $336,000 to fund 3 administrative positions, and they're not for the sheriff. But anyways, well, they're for our county administrator receives one, 911 receives one,
Medical examiner,
and the medical examiner
we got an
receives
administrator
one.
for the administrator. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That
do
way
you,
we can have
do you
some
know
more
what that
meetings.
vote was?
The vote was 5-4, and it
okay.
was pretty predictable. Thankfully, we have the 4 who voted in opposition to it, and we'll name them off. It's Commissioner Tony Bear, Commissioner Marge Waltz, Commissioner Corey Kennedy, Vice Chairman of the County Board of Commission, and Commissioner Phil Duckham. They were the 4 fiscal, responsible conservatives who voted no on this. Like Commissioner Kennedy stated, we have other priorities, such as jail,
Yeah.
such as our roads, rather than spending this money, regardless if it's $336,000 on 3 new administrative positions. The 5 who voted for it, the same 5 who vote each time to wastefully spend our tax dollars. Jackson County Commission Chairman Steve Shotwell, Commissioner Earl Pileski, Commissioner Ray Snell, the 3 Republicans who call themselves Republicans, but I don't see how. They need to switch their party affiliation to Democrats. That way
They won't win if they do that.
They would not win. They're very safe in their districts.
Yes.
And, of course, they vote with the 2 Democrats who sit on the county commission, Commissioner John Willis and Commissioner Darius Williams.
Okay. No, you're good.
Yep. So, yeah, that's we'll touch on this a little bit more in a couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
But until then, boy, we got a good weekend ahead of us, and wow, some good sports, of course. Oh my goodness,
USA.
Oh, USA.
Ryder Cup.
Ryder
I was
Cup,
watching the Ryder Cup this morning. The first
Ryder
4-point session went 3 European, 1 U.S. we need a little help there, and we need a little help on them Detroit Tigers.
And Detroit Tigers, and hopefully the Detroit Lions will play like they did in the fourth quarter Monday night, all 4 quarters Sunday against Cleveland.
Oh,
we don't have to worry about them because they're good.
They're a fourth quarter team.
They're straight up good. But our Tigers, come on, Tigers, you can do it. 3 against Boston, and
can we get one? We just need one team.
They did win the game last night, so they're going in this 3-game set with Boston, who is in a dogfight themselves.
Yes, they are for wild card.
It's all even,
and it's in Boston.
So,
okay, all right. Well, hey, good show, and thank you, John.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it.
My goodness, yeah.
I was a little reluctant to come on here, but when I saw some of the shows, I reviewed them. I said, no.
And what did I say at the start? He's a wealth of knowledge on city
government.
No,
absolutely. It was a pleasure to have you, and it's definitely a different aspect. Things that we don't really necessarily think about. You brought up, and I was glad we addressed them.
Yeah. Well, until then, thank you, Kevin. As always, great job.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks for another episode of Hits Home Jackson with John Wilson.
Out of here.
You've been listening to a Grandma's Boy Media Production.
Talking all things Jackson, bringing you the news that you need to know. The Hits Home Jackson podcast, and we're coming at you live in your city. Jackson, this is your time. Get your news from your neighbor, the people who care, unbiased and uncensored with pride. Broadcasting to you live on the air. Trusted source to tell you what's happening from the city to the county line. All the news that matters. Make your own opinion about the news that